Monique walked into that courtroom not just as an actress or comedian, but as someone who had spent over a decade fighting to be heard. She wasn't here for revenge. She wasn't here for ratings. She was here because the truth had finally been given a microphone it couldn't be taken away from. Her testimony was the moment many had waited for, whispered about, and even doubted would ever happen. For years, she spoke out against Hollywood's gatekeepers, naming names like Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, and Sean Diddy Combs, only to be called bitter, difficult, and unstable. But now, under oath, she wasn't just speaking, she was testifying. And this time, the world was listening. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation as she adjusted her seat, looked directly at the jury, and began. What followed wasn't just another celebrity story. It was a reckoning. Monique didn't hold back. She laid bare the mechanisms of control, silence, and retaliation that had shaped her career and crushed others before her. This wasn't just about Diddy's alleged misconduct. It was about the entire ecosystem built to protect men like him, and how women like her were punished for daring to speak out. As she spoke, it became clear. This wasn't just a deposition. It was a dismantling of a system that had thrived on fear for far too long. Every name she dropped, every timeline she revealed, every document she presented was a brick being pulled from the foundation of Hollywood's illusion. And the cracks were starting to show. Monique's journey through Hollywood had always been marked by bold choices, fearless performances, and unapologetic honesty. From her early days in stand-up comedy to her breakout role in Precious, which earned her an Academy Award, she was never one to play it safe. But after Precious, everything changed. When she refused to do unpaid press tours for the film, something many actors are expected to do, the backlash was swift and brutal. Producers turned their backs, executives stopped returning calls, and soon, her once bright career dimmed almost overnight. Industry insiders whispered that her name was no longer safe, that she had crossed a line she shouldn't have. She publicly named Tyler Perry, Lee Daniels, and Oprah Winfrey as key players in what she described as a coordinated effort to silence her. Many dismissed her claims as sour grapes, the bitterness of a star whose time had passed. But Monique knew better. She had seen the machine in action, felt its weight pressing down on her, and now, under oath, she was proving it existed. For over a decade, she fought to explain what happened to her, not just professionally, but personally. Now, in front of a judge, a jury, and the eyes of the world, she was finally telling the full story. Not just about herself, but about the culture of protection that had shielded powerful men while destroying those who dared to speak out. Then came the part everyone in the courtroom seemed to brace for, Monique's explosive testimony about Tyler Perry. She leaned forward slightly, her voice steady but intense, recounting a private conversation she had with Perry in 2018. It wasn't some offhand remark or vague accusation. It was a direct admission. Perry allegedly told her he had been wrong, that she hadn't been difficult, and that he should have publicly supported her when the backlash started. But then came the catch. He couldn't apologize openly, because doing so would expose deeper issues involving Diddy. That moment, she explained, was chilling. Not just because Perry admitted fault, but because he confirmed what she had long suspected. There was a network of protection in place, and Diddy was at its center. Monique presented a transcript of that call to the court, showing Perry allegedly telling her that he couldn't risk speaking out because of the NDAs and the damage it would cause to others. She described how the entertainment industry operated like a fortress, with certain names shielded at all costs. If you crossed one of those untouchables, you were marked. And Monique had been marked for years. The courtroom listened intently as she laid out how Hollywood's gatekeepers weren't just protecting themselves. They were protecting each other, even when it meant silencing someone who had done nothing wrong. Next came the emotional revelation. Monique's account of her relationship with Oprah Winfrey. She spoke with quiet intensity, recalling a deeply personal moment when she confided in Oprah about childhood abuse. At the time, she believed she had found a confidant, someone who would understand her pain. But soon after, she saw her abuser featured on the Oprah Winfrey Show, interviewed as if nothing had happened. Meanwhile, Monique's own career was collapsing, her invitations drying up, and her name labeled as problematic. She described the betrayal not just as personal, but strategic. It wasn't just that Oprah had failed to support her. It was that she had used her platform to elevate the very person Monique had trusted her to protect her from. She revealed that she had received a leaked email showing coordination between Oprah, Perry, and Diddy's teams, further proving that these relationships weren't just professional. They were protective. The implications were staggering. It wasn't just about Hollywood politics. It was about who got silenced and who got elevated. As Monique spoke, the weight of her words settled over the room. This wasn't just about one woman's experience. It was about a pattern, a system, and the painful reality that sometimes the people you trust the most are the ones who help bury your truth. But the bombshell didn't stop there. Monique went on to reveal something that few had ever heard before. She had attended one of Diddy's infamous parties and walked out in horror. It wasn't just the atmosphere or the excessive luxury that unsettled her. It was the orchestrated nature of everything around her. Upon arrival, her phone was taken, she was escorted by staff, and guests were required to sign NDAs before entering. Inside, she witnessed strange setups, candlelit rooms, people being directed to private areas, and an unsettling sense of control over every detail. She recalled seeing a woman in heels and a man in just a bathrobe, both seemingly unaware of the scrutiny surrounding them. One of Diddy's assistants approached her and said, "It's all about experience here. You're safe if you sign the NDA." That was the moment she decided to leave. She didn't sign. She never went back. But what followed was a slow erasure from the industry. Invitations stopped coming, roles dried up, and whispers spread that she was difficult. Monique made it clear. This wasn't coincidence. This was retaliation. Her account lined up with Cassie Ventura's allegations and others who had described similar patterns of behavior. The difference? Monique wasn't a subordinate or a young artist trying to break in. She was a respected actress, walking in on her own terms. And still, she was punished. Her testimony proved that the system wasn't just targeting vulnerable newcomers, it was silencing anyone who dared to step outside the lines. Monique then painted the bigger picture. A hidden list of untouchable figures protected by a culture of fear, silence, and systemic cover-ups. She described how careers were made or destroyed based on who played along with the system. Those who refused to stay silent were discredited, blackballed, or erased entirely. She explained how NDAs weren't just legal tools, but weapons of control, ensuring that damaging truths stayed buried. She revealed how public relations firms worked behind the scenes to manage optics, crafting narratives that protected the powerful while destroying dissenters. But perhaps the most painful part of her testimony was the realization that some of the people who enforced this system were Black executives who feared losing their own positions more than they cared about justice. Monique called it white balling, a term she used to describe the way black individuals in power turned against their own to maintain favor with the gatekeepers of Hollywood. She recounted how she had been labeled difficult, not because of her actions, but because she refused to comply with the rules of silence. Every time she tried to speak, someone stepped in to erase her voice. Every time she tried to work, someone blocked her path. And now, under oath, she was proving that it wasn't paranoia. It was real. The entire courtroom sat in stunned silence as the weight of her words settled in. The trial had started as a case against Diddy, but Nique was exposing something far larger, an entire ecosystem built to protect the powerful at any cost. Nique then presented the evidence, tangible proof backing up every claim she had made. She held up transcripts, emails, internal memos, and even audio recordings that corroborated her testimony. Most shocking was the accidentally forwarded email showing coordination between Tyler Perry, Diddy, and a PR firm handling crisis management for both Revolt TV and Tyler Perry Studios. The subject line read simply, "Managing Optics. Wendy, Puff, Tyler." There was no explanation, no additional text, just confirmation that these three figures were linked in efforts to control narratives. She also provided a timeline detailing her interactions with Hollywood elites, showing how her career imploded after she refused to participate in unpaid press for Precious. The prosecution introduced photos showing Perry and Diddy smiling together at a BET event just weeks after Perry donated $1 million to Bishop T.D. Jakes' church, a move Nique claimed was not charity, but damage control. She also shared a recording of her private conversation with Perry, where he allegedly admitted he was wrong but refused to go public. Though the audio itself was pending authentication, the transcript was entered into evidence, marking a major turning point in the case. These documents weren't conspiracy theories. They were proof that the system Nique had been warning about for years was real. And now, in a federal courtroom, the walls were beginning to crack. The fallout from Nique's testimony was immediate and seismic. Within hours, social media exploded with reactions, disbelief, outrage, and shock from fans and insiders alike. Major news outlets scrambled to cover the revelations, with headlines questioning the future of Diddy's legal battle and the reputations of those named alongside him. Industry insiders whispered about the potential for new investigations, and longtime critics of the music and media elite seized on the opportunity to demand accountability. Speculation ran rampant about whether other voices would follow Nique's lead, voices that had remained silent out of fear, financial pressure, or legal constraints. Some speculated that attorneys representing other high-profile figures were already preparing counter-narratives, damage control strategies, and legal defenses. Meanwhile, the accused remained largely silent. Diddy's legal team issued no comment. Jay-Z's representatives remained tight-lipped, and neither Oprah nor Tyler Perry had publicly addressed the claims. But the silence itself felt telling. Nique's words ignited a firestorm that could no longer be contained by behind-the-scenes maneuvering. The walls were starting to crack, and Nique had handed the sledgehammer to the world. As she concluded her testimony, Nique sat taller, composed, and resolute. She wasn't afraid anymore. For years, she was attacked, humiliated, and discarded because she dared to speak inconvenient truths. Now, she had delivered them under oath, in a room where lies carried consequences. She reiterated that this wasn't just about one man's misconduct. It was about a system built to shield the powerful from accountability, and she was living proof that system had failed. As she stepped down from the stand, the courtroom remained silent, absorbing the weight of everything she had said. Monique left the room not as the woman they tried to destroy, but as the one who lived to tell the tale. And now, the world was finally listening. If you believe in the power of truth, if you've ever questioned why some stories never see the light of day, hit that like button. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Who do you think will break the silence next? And don't forget to subscribe for more updates as this story continues to unfold. Because the tower is shaking, and we're just getting started.